I'm fucking pissed. I literally just got those. Oh well. What's the brand name on that?
On what?
The socks.
um.
Oh shit, they have a lot of different ones. They have women's. Camera's on, by the way.
You're not even streaming.
I am streaming. It just hasn't been refreshed.
Oh yeah, that's the right brand.
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you ask me if you already knew?
These are apparently women's, but there's a guy wearing them.
How do you know it's a guy?
It's probably a dude.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Unless you're one of those, unless it's like a woman soccer player who fucking had to get a second job because they don't pay her enough. Because nobody watches women's soccer. I clicked men. How many fucking times do I have to click men? Like what the actual fuck?
What the F?
Oh, those are nice. Check it. They got a dog riding a bike.
Oh goodness. I'd probably get some knee highs of those just so I can walk around in that and some short shorts for you.
Ooh, multi-packs? What?
You're like, yes, please. Shine me up. I like how you're streaming, but all you're doing is actually looking at socks. You know you're old, what?
I'll just get another 2 pairs next time we go down there. I'll keep buying them until I have them all. Can't think of anything else I wanted down there.
Popcorn.
Popcorn. Yeah, that's fine.
That cake.
I don't know why it's... Oh. Oops. Like, I'm fucking... Nothing's on. Holy shit, the game's not on. Fucking my cam isn't on. I'm lost.
You're lobster.
I'm lost. I'm fucking a mess. I don't
Yeah,
even know
quite
where
a
I am.
mess.
What was I doing? Like, what the fuck's going on? All I know is I got a hole in my sock and I can't fucking think straight. Well, you won't believe this, but I can't carry this bag because my bags are full. Ain't that some shit? Oh. You know, I'm just gonna get rid of that, honestly. My mana's always low. Why's today any different, huh?
It's too far away. I need to get closer. That spell isn't
And he just straight up resets on me.
ready yet.
Really, it's not enough. I feel like literally everything's going wrong right now. I love you.
Servers, World Boss mounts sell for 6 million gold. Other servers, they sell for 600,000 gold. And you can also look at something like the Plagued Proto Drake or like the original ZG mounts. The original ZG mounts go for maybe 3 or 2 million gold on my server. But those mounts back then, and there's no other way to obtain them at all. And they haven't been able to be obtainable for 10 years. So what's going to end up happening is that you have a supply of these long boys that's not met with the demand that would warrant a gold cap price, because many of the people that would have paid a gold cap price have already purchased the mount for 5 million gold. And also, a lot of the people that still haven't done it won't have the money to do that in the first place by the very nature of the fact that they didn't have the 5 million to purchase it in BFA. Duh.
As there's lots of players who have
Duh.
tons of gold saved up because they like to play the auction house for an expansion or two for fun, who might just quit the game for BFA and then decide to come back for Shadowlands and then think, hey, this mount has an auction house on it and is super useful. How about I use all of my money to buy it once I see it? And so for the average WoW player, farming out 5 million gold is quite the feat. Now, there's many different ways to make 5 million gold. But if you were to do pure gold farms, it would take you a longer amount of time than trying to obtain pretty much all the other previous spots on this list. Or not, this list isn't about mounts that take the longest to obtain, and are about ones that are the most annoying to obtain. as I think getting the pack mule might take longer than getting this one. Let's take running normal Skyreach as an example. This is one of the quickest dungeons you can run that gives a respectable amount of gold, as you can vendor everything and expect to earn about 400 gold a run. And since it's short and fast and has a teleport back to the entrance after killing the final boss, you can run the entire place in about 5 minutes. And there's an instance lockout of 10 runs per hour. So if you run normal Skyreach 10 times an hour, because heroic locks you to 1 per day, that could net you about 4,000 gold an hour. Which would mean you'd have to run Skyreach for 1,250 hours in order to get enough gold to buy the Brutus. Or in terms of runs, you would have to do normal Skyreach 12,500 times.
Gold farms now, anytime that you're farming for raw gold, it's a mistake. You should never farm for raw gold anymore. You only should farm for resources because there's so much raw gold in the economy through botting that the value of it is too low. Raw gold farming is a complete waste of time.
And this is a really good gold farm if you're trying to farm for just pure gold, that is, i.e. not having to deal with the auction house or sell things to other players. And if one of the best pure repeatable gold farms takes you 12,500 runs in order to obtain 1 long boy, that should give you a good scope of just how annoying this mount is to farm.
It's a long fucking time, man.
It can be fun if you find a whole bunch of creative methods to make gold. There's lots of them out there. I wouldn't recommend running Skyreach 12,500 times, but maybe a handful of times on characters who've already exhausted their other gold making methods for the day.
Yeah, just start streaming and it'll be fine. Like, I don't know what the problem is. It's easy.
It could be a way to push your way towards the goal. So, even though this mount can be bought from a vendor with no other special prerequisites other than having a crap ton of gold, it's only owned by 1.4% of the player base. That number probably won't go much higher once it's removed from the vendor in Shadowlands.
Okay.
But if you're crazy enough to actually try to farm out this mount, I'd highly suggest putting on a good podcast or audiobook so that you don't go crazy from the boredom.
Yeah, that's very important.
Which is actually a nice segue into the sponsor of this video, Raycon. Now, when it comes to earbuds, whenever I'm playing video games, Onyx Cloud Serpent, who has a whopping 0.6% collection rate, which is the lowest collection rate of all the mounts on this list. But again, this video isn't about the rarest mounts or the ones that take the longest to obtain, just the ones that are the most annoying. The way to get this mount is by simply killing the Shaw of Anger world boss in Mist of Pandaria.
This fucking sucks.
And the Shaw of Anger spawns on a pretty reasonable respawn timer, and isn't that hard to find and kill on each of your characters, as you can only kill and collect loot from him once per week per character. So if you have 50 characters that are all able to kill the Shaw of Anger, that's 50 attempts per week. But here's the thing with the Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent. It has such a low chance to drop that people didn't even know it was obtainable at the launch of Mist of Pandaria.
It's 1 in 2,000. Like, this mount was a cock. Like, I know a few people, I think Nixie, one of my mods, got this mount, and a few other people as well got it. But for the most part, this shit is extremely fucking rare. Like, I haven't gotten a single world boss mount on my own. I've had to buy all of them from the black market. Like, that's
they just thought it was
are.
another mount Blizzard added to the game files and were just never going to be made available.
Yeah,
to
people
players,
didn't even know it was real.
There were a lot of Cloud Serpent models that weren't available at the start.
Yep,
but
like the blue one.
People have absolutely been farming this mount ever since Mist of Pandaria came out. And even then, it still has a less than 1% collection rate.
Yeah, it's fucking
According to
insane.
some Wowhead comments, some players were able to get the mount after only 5,000 measly kills.
This could be my last one for the night.
Reporting upwards of 8,000 or more kills. And since you
see, that's the thing, is like it's a 1 in 1,000, 1 in 2,000.
What'd you say? Well, you're still awake, so grab me a beer.
Are you awake?
I can't control that, but you're awake, so
Oh,
here.
I can't sleep over your clickety clackety.
Here. I guess I could get up and get in. I mean, what?
Do it. Just give me my alarm.
I bet you didn't even brush your teeth yet.
I did a while ago.
Well, that was a while ago. You have to do it again.
Oh.
Love you.
Love me, we've been in bed now.
We'll go to bed after this quest is done. Whatever that is.
I gotta put more beer in the fridge.
I need to get closer.
Oh, I crit with a frostbolt. That's nice. Watching him burn to death, waving goodbye. Do you want to smoke?
No. I'm naked. It's cold
That's the
outside.
best time to smoke, is when you're naked.
But it's cold outside.
Smoking in bed after some good schmecks with a plate of waffles.
Recharge in.
Why the waffles?
I don't know, waffles just sound like they'd be a really good after sex snack.
I don't know, that popcorn party mix. That'd be good after.
After driving down on the cakes, I could go for some waffles. Cigarette?
I can't cast that yet.
Cigarette?
Don't go smoke when you know it's hot.
I can't do anything without you, though. It's impossible. I tried.
You do it at work every day.
Yeah, but it's different. That's at work.
You do it every morning that I'm not here.
No, actually, I don't smoke at all.
I mean, function.
Oh. Barely.
You said you can't do anything without me. Or
That's still recharge in.
I don't even know how I get out of bed, quite frankly. It's a miracle. Watch me throw one of my flaming balls at this guy. Boom. I'm gonna throw another, get smaller ball at him. Oh, smaller ball hit harder than the big ball. What the fuck? What world is this?
a Warcraft rule.
I just need 4 more tusks. It's the only reason I've been here this whole time, walking back and forth, killing the same skull splitters over and over and over again.
That's still recharge in.
I like how you just resist, even though you're fucking 3 levels below me. Oh, I just need 3 more tusks. Smoke? Yeah, I'm gonna wake you up when I'm done here, right? So you might as well just smoke now. smoke.
Smoke when you're done.
Hmm?
Smoke when you're done.
Okay. Well, I just need 3 more tusks. Ooh, that was a good crit.
Cast that yet.
What's the cooldown on combustion? 3 minutes. Okay, so it literally lasts until I've hit 3. So that's good to know. Not quite as much micromanagement.
That spell isn't ready yet. I can't carry anymore. I'm out of range. That spell isn't ready yet. Cast that yet. I can't carry anymore.
Just 2 more. Why am I casting this spell? There, now I can cast it. 'Cause he's just gonna fucking interrupt it.
That's still recharging. Inventory is full.
Is it me or is the camera centered slightly differently in vanilla? I think it's just me.
That spell isn't ready yet.
Oh, just 1 more. I'm getting off after this quest is done, by the way. I'm literally gonna do this. I'm gonna turn it in. I'm done for the night. I shouldn't have played Halo as long as I did, but I had to get my angst out. I had no intentions of playing it either. It's just I'm pissed off. I gotta take it out on somebody.
I can't cast that yet. I can't cast that yet. That's still recharging. That's still recharging. That spell isn't ready yet.
Rather have the potion than the tusk, to be honest with you.
It's too far away. I can't carry anymore.
Actually, when I turn these two quests in, I'm gonna level up. Pretty sure.
Spell isn't ready yet.
Two and a half bars. 2,000 XP. Or no, 20,000 XP.
Inventory is full.
I bet Troll warriors are actually really good because of the racial HP regen.
That spell isn't ready yet. Not enough mana.
Mount. But that doesn't mean that you're going to do it 2,000 times and then you get the mount. Like, you could do it like 100, like, you know, fucking like 100 times more than that, and you still wouldn't really have a higher chance to get the mount. Like, it's so low that you could spend 10,000 kills on this boss and you wouldn't get it. It's such a huge waste of time. It's crazy.
You can only kill it one time per week per character. I can assume it took them years to get those kinds of numbers. And at number 2, we have the Time Lost Proto Drake. I'm sure most people thought of this mount when they first clicked on the video, as this mount is kind of famous for being an annoying mount to farm.
What?
As it's very aptly named. You will waste a lot of time trying to farm this mount spawn locations.
No, dude. No, dude. GGX mount? Yeah, where is the Greek God X video? This is his old video 8 years ago. Look at this. Greek Gaming. October 2000.
Pretty soon. Love you. Bye.
My favorite part about that is how he ends it with telling him he's gonna make a Minecraft video.
Now, this mount is obtained in pretty much the exact same way as the Phosphorescent Stone Drake, where
this
you
is
have
easy
to
to
kill a
farm.
rare mob that has a 100% chance to drop it.
This is so easy to
It
farm.
has a 2 to 8 hour respawn timer and shares the spawn timer with another dragon called
Viragosa.
Viragosa, who spawns much more often. Now, the
1 in
Time Lost
20.
Proto Drake is so famous for being difficult to obtain
It's
that
not.
you can usually talk about how difficult a new mount added to the game is in comparison to getting the Time Lost Proto Drake.
It's way easier now because now you can farm it with a group. Like you have a 5-man group and like one person tags it and then everybody just goes over there and they all get them out.
It does have
It's 1 in
about a
10. It's pretty
4%
good.
collection rate, which is a lot higher than some of the other mounts on this list. Although I should probably mention, that's still an incredibly low number for a mount that's been obtainable for over 10 years.
Yep.
And I totally would have put this at the number 1 on this list. It's basically what this list was all about. It's just the number 1 spot is definitely the most annoying mount to farm. And I'm sure most people won't disagree with me on it. And at number 1, we have the Big Love Rocket, which is a mount that can be obtained from killing the holiday boss during the
I have every mount on this list, man. I have every mount on this list. That's nice.
Love is in the Air holiday event,
Man.
which is the World of Warcraft equivalent to Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Now, this mount has about a 1% chance to drop from the holiday boss, which is not half bad when compared to the drop chances of things like the Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent. But here's the
course.
thing with the Big Love Rocket. You can only attempt the boss for 2 weeks a year. Once those 2 weeks are over, you don't have a way to try farming it again, and you just have
There
to
are people that level up like literally dozens of characters in preparation for being able to do the Big Love Rocket farm. And it's not 1%, it's like 0.3. Yeah, it's like fucking 1 in 2K or 1 in 1K. It's super fucking rare. I remember, I think like Annie got them out like last year and she had been farming it for years. Like I know whenever I got mine, for example, like there's mine. I have a clip of me getting mine, and basically what happened is this is in like 2013, and I went in there and I killed the boss the first time that year, and I got them out. That's how it happened. It wasn't really a big deal. I just kind of got it out of the way. I didn't want to waste a whole lot of time on it. Let's see it. Okay. Look at this. Right here, watch. Visualize it. There it is. I just opened it up. That was the first fucking day. See, it was on like the 10th or whenever it was. That's whenever I got the mount. It was really nice. This is a great fucking mount. You got to grind mounts today? Yeah, no sound. Well, I don't know really what I said back then, so I was being careful, okay? Let me go back to the other video.
wait a year. When the Big Love Rocket
Went in there, farm like 0.3. Yeah, it's I just there it is. I just
Sup, y'all? It's me, it's your boy Asmongold, and today Sup y'all, it's me, it's your boy Asmongold, and today I want to give you guys an updated 2016 Love is in the Air Festival Guide. Now, we're going to be going over a lot of stuff in this video, so I really want to focus on the new content that's been added into this event. Charm bracelet, and then you turn a charm bracelet in, one charm bracelet for one love token. So it's very, very simple. It's a 10-to-1 ratio. Anyway, you can buy a bunch of different stuff here. You can buy the pets, and then like the Lovebird hatchling. This is the first like pretty much big item that you buy.
Servers, World Boss mounts sell for 6 million gold. Other servers, they sell for 600,000 gold. And you can also look at something like the Plagued Proto Drake or like the... That's how it happened. It wasn't really a big deal. I just kind of got it out of the way. I didn't want to waste a whole... Yeah, it's just broken.
I do have a friend who was able to get the big love rocket for the very first time she ever tried farming for it. Probably not that annoying to some people who are super lucky, but for like everyone else, this is the pinnacle of annoying mount farms.
Yeah, it
one
is.
that you can't even try for 99% of the year.
Well, the other thing with this one is that you can't buy it. Like the World Boss mount, for example, you can buy the mount instead.
Because at least with the Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent, you can try to obtain it all year round. So the big love rocket is just more a frustrating grind because you can only grind it for such a short amount of time each year. In addition to the fact that it has an incredibly low drop chance.
Yeah.
So with all 50 characters on your realm, you can only attempt to farm this mount 700 times per year, which sounds like a lot of attempts, and it is, but I'm sure most people don't even know there is a 50 character cap on your account, let alone have enough max level characters to attempt that grind, or high level characters. So you're probably looking at something around 2 to 5 high level characters.
Thanks, Tyrion. Appreciate that, man.
Which equates to about 28 to 70 tries per year.
Jesus.
Which isn't
Thank
really
you,
that
Tyrion.
much when it comes to farming a 1% drop chance mount. Alright, that's the end of the video. Are there any more annoying mounts to farm that I might have missed? If so, I'd love to hear about them down in the comments, for potential another video on the same topic. This video was edited by the lovely Flying Buttress, so if you enjoyed it, you'd probably enjoy the videos on his channel as well, as they are also highly edited.
Yeah,
and
this
scripted
guy,
videos.
this video is actually
And
really
also,
good.
did you know only 30.1% of people who watch these videos are actually subscribed to the channel?
Oh, that's clever. That is... Servers, World Boss mounts sell for 6 million gold. Other servers, they sell for 600,000 gold. And you can also look at something like the Plagued...
No one really knows.
Top 10 hardest bosses that were not end bosses in World of Warcraft. You know what number 1 is? Spine of Deathwing. I can already guarantee you it's going to be Spine of Deathwing. Alright, let's go.
We'll be going over the hardest raid bosses in the game that were not the end boss of the raid, which is usually the hardest boss in whichever raid you're doing.
Alright.
And at number 10, we have Oro. This boss actually holds the record for being the longest a boss has gone unkilled while it was available to fight, as it took the world first 87 days to down the boss after defeating the Twin Emperors.
Okay, you gotta remember though, this is like back in Classic where like everything was fucked up. So like anything that you consider like in Classic or BC, sure. Like there were plenty of goofy things going on then, but after that, I'm really kind of curious what's gonna be beyond that. Or yeah, it was bugged or something. Like I don't know if this
Oro
counts.
was basically just an optional boss in AQ40.
Yeah.
So no one really cared too much.
She's a bug.
The reason the boss went unkilled for so long was because the boss was just kind of buggy, which was also the same reason Cthulhu went unkilled
buggy.
for so long.
Okay, that's
Oro
good.
had this mechanic called Sandblast,
Yeah.
which would do a huge 180-degree cone in front of Oro and stun all targets hit for 5 seconds.
And it drops their aggro.
He would always target the player with the highest threat.
Yep.
So the way you're supposed to handle the ability was to just have your tanks alternate kiting the boss to the direction which doesn't hit the raid.
Yeah, that's
and
what
then
we
have
do
the
now.
off tank tank it to the other direction.
Exactly.
Which should account for not hitting the entire raid and getting
Exactly.
them stunned. It would also wipe the threat from any targets that it hit. So
Yeah.
the tanks would have to have a steady rotation of always being ready to take up the threat, otherwise it would just start one-shotting all the healers. However,
It would not start one-shotting all of the healers because they'd be enraged. He'd be one-shotting all of the melee. And that's what happens to our raid every single week. Every single week we have DPS warriors that die because Oru gets knocked out of range and they pull aggro and they die.
Sandblast was only supposed
Gator.
to hit 2 times, but instead would go off a total of 4 times before it stopped using it, which meant it basically hit everyone in the raid since there was no way for tanks to kind of position it in time
Wow.
with the threat wipe. And if tanks did manage
What
to deal
the
the
fuck?
buggy Sandblast ability, he also had another ability where he would just go underground and then never come up. Because of these 2 bugs, and the fact that he was an optional boss and no one really needed
He just starts hiding from you. He's like, oh, can't get me now. Oh, shit. Yeah, he's just hiding. That's great, man. What a terrible boss.
kill, they just
Wow.
kind of left him alone and worked on Cthulhu instead.
Probably a
who
good
was
idea.
the big boss that everyone wanted to kill.
Yeah.
Who was equally bugged and a whole bunch of things that made him unkillable
Yeah,
as well.
Cthulhu was completely
Eventually, they fixed the Sandblast ability to not hit 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
And of course, they allowed him to actually come back up from the ground so that he could be attacked.
That's
So
actually
he
really
was killed
fucking
as soon
funny.
as
I
Guild
like
got
that.
their kill on Cthulhu.
That's
which
really
was
fucking
literally
funny.
just 1 day later, since no one really bothered to work on him very much. I'm not really sure how difficult Oro really was, but he should definitely make a list like this. So
Uru was really hard because he did a lot of damage. Uru had extremely high damage on a tank. Like, Uru was like, imagine Uru is just a big dick and he's just slapping your tanks around. And like, so you got to keep that. No, he did. Like, you got to heal him up as much as you can. And that's what made Uru so hard. It wasn't actually because not Uwu. No, man. That's, you guys think you're really cute, huh?
adding him at the number 10 spot seems pretty reasonable.
Okay.
All the other ones on this list actually had guilds wanting to do attempts on them.
Yeah.
And at number 9, we have Fetid Devourer.
Oh, dude.
On the mythic version of this fight, it was supposed
Oh,
to be
dude.
a patchwork style DPS check. So if you didn't have high enough gear, this boss would show you that you weren't really ready for the final boss.
This boss was awesome. I loved this boss. Yeah, I love this fucking boss. I remember whenever Rich and I casted this, so Method had a strat that the Ring of Peace would knock Fetid Devourer back. So Method's original strategy for this boss, my understanding of it, was that they were going to just spam Rings of Peace and keep Fetid Devourer locked in place and prevent him from doing any mechanics, and then just kill him. But apparently he was so hard that they could never actually get it in place and make it happen because of how ridiculously difficult the boss fight was. It was crazy.
So the fight itself was very simple and only lasted 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is super short for a regular raid
This was
fight,
really hard
but pretty
fight.
standard for a DPS check. And one of the mechanics the boss had was 3 little eggs would spawn in the room.
Yep.
2 small ones and a big one.
And a big one.
And while they existed, all they would try to do is get off a cast of an ability called Inciting Essence, which would just call the boss over to eat them, and then heal him for 30% of his health.
Yeah, it's a
which
wipe.
was basically
It's
a
a-
wipe,
yeah.
because you wouldn't be
It's a
able to
wipe.
DPS him down before the enrage timer if he healed for so much.
Yeah, this
So
boss is
obviously
fucking
killing
ridiculous.
those 3 eggs when they spawned was a huge priority.
Absolutely.
But when the boss first came out, they had so much health that it was almost impossible to kill a
Yep.
single one of them before he ate them and healed up.
Yep.
In fact, they had too much health where they was basically just overtuned. And
Well,
Blizzard-
it was completely overtuned, and even Blizzard acknowledged that it was overtuned. Like, they said, like, yeah, we just kind of fucking put it up to 11. We'll just see how it goes. You know, just see what the kids can do. Oh, man. I would be so mad if I was a high-end raider.
Blizzard had to apply 2 nerfs to the fight within the first couple of
fucking
days
nerfs. I
before
remember
the
this
world
very
first was
clearly.
achieved. So it did fulfill his job of being a DPS check.
Yeah,
it's
he
just
was.
the DPS check was too high.
Way
which
too
made
high.
it very difficult.
It's
Way
fucking
more difficult
insane.
than it should have been compared to everything else in the raid. The
Exactly.
DPS requirements were kind of on par with the final boss Cahoon.
Yeah.
Although it got fixed quickly, and the world first was achieved after only 133 attempts. which
Only
isn't that bad.
133.
So it only makes it number 9 on this list.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking
And at
good.
number 8, we have Siegecrafter Blackfuse from the Siege of Orgrimmar.
Dude, this boss was one of the coolest bosses that Blizzard has ever made. Like, I really think, like, Siege of Orgrimmar, like, this is probably, I like this boss fight probably more than Garrosh. This is one of the coolest, most challenging, interesting boss fights that they have ever done. I love this shit.
This fight was downed after 230 attempts,
Yeah.
and was one of the harder fights in Siege of Orgrimmar, and basically because it had a lot of tough mechanics at its heroic difficulty.
Yep.
The fight had this laser beam which would target a random raid member and then follow them around for a bit,
Yeah,
leaving
and
behind
you couldn't
fire
kite
that
it
needed to
through
be
the raid.
avoided for basically the rest of the fight.
Yep.
And since a laser beam would start hitting people as soon as it targeted them, you couldn't really have designated areas to put all the fire in. So you just had constant streams of fire throughout the entire raid fight.
And I liked it so much because of that, because you had to make, like, Siegecrafter was one of those fights that there were so many random variables that you couldn't have the zombies in your raid that you could just program to do X, Y, and Z. Like, they had to actually make, like, organic decisions inside of the fight. It was so well designed. Like, this is one of the coolest fights that Blizzard has ever made.
just had to deal with and not run inside of. Periodically throughout the fight, a couple of robots would spawn in the corners of the room, who would then cause a little safety dance where drills would pop
Yep.
out of the ground and hit everyone in its radius.
Yeah,
and
burn
since
'em
this
down.
happened basically throughout the entire fight, there was a lot of movement involved in trying to run to the robots to destroy them, so they would stop the
I wonder
ground
if they're going to
attack.
put Lotheb on
Also
this
running
list.
out of the fires and avoiding the other raid members' flames that they left on the floor. And of
Yep.
course, the constant bombs that would spawn and slowly walk towards players until they killed them. Or in
By players, what he means to say is the elemental shaman, or sorry, enhancement shaman in my raid. Like, we had this enhancement shaman in my raid that did really, really good damage, but he just could never do mechanics. Like, he just couldn't do it. I don't know why. He just didn't know how to do mechanics, period. So we had so many people. It was him and this other guy. I think his name was Reg, right? We had Reg doing it. There's one other guy that kept blowing up mines in the raid. Oh, that was me. Yeah, because I wouldn't want to get out of the boss. Like, I told the raid, I was like, I will stay in and wipe the raid before I lower my damage. I said, listen, we can pull this boss as many times as we want, but I only have one chance a week to parse. I'm going to make it count. And so if I die, everybody's coming with me. It is what it is. Yeah, that was me.
until the bomb itself was killed,
Exactly.
which required constant kiting. And while all of this was going on, there was
Yep.
also a belt phase that a couple of your DPS players would have to go solo, where they would hop into the corner of the room and go on a conveyor belt.
This
and
was
DPS
really
down
fun.
some of the robot parts. If the DPS players failed their mission and died on the conveyor belts,
Yeah, it would immediately kill you. On Mythic difficulty, it did 9 million damage. Like, basically 10 million damage. So there is no way for you to avoid the fire things. So if you couldn't do the conveyor belts properly, there's no way that you could get through it. You had to learn how to do them. And you had to have multiple people doing them at the same time.
then it was basically an instant wipe for the group. So
Oh,
while
it was
you
on
had a full
heroic,
raid
yeah,
of a
yeah.
whole bunch of mechanics and constant
Well, you know what I
movement,
mean.
you could also just fail the entire fight if the DPS players on the belt messed up their job.
Exactly.
I remember when I progressed on this raid back in Mists of Pandaria,
Exactly.
I'd say more than half of our total wipes were just because a DPS player died on the belt, and we had to reset so they could try again.
Yep.
The belt had its own little Frogger
Yep.
segment where you had to DPS while moving, which was kind of difficult for a solo raid mechanic, which would make or break your attempts.
Well, it was really...
Generally, you don't want one person to have to do such a hard job in order to allow the entire raid group to succeed.
Well, that's why it was so good. That's why it was so good. It's like, this was the raid boss. Like, you would have a lot of raids that were stuck on this boss because they had like 10 good players in the raid and they had 15 other not so good players in the raid. And they could never get past Blackfuse because they couldn't base all of the they couldn't build all of the responsibilities around those 10 players.
Which is exactly what the belt entailed in Siege
Yeah, this
Crafter.
separated the raids
so it
from
was
the
kind of a
circuses.
design they tried out, and then
That's
they
basically
really
how
went
it
back
worked.
on requiring DPS players to have that much solo responsibility.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome.
And
I love
generally,
this fight.
if one player makes or breaks the raid, it's usually the job of one of the tanks. And at number 7, we have Dark Animus. This was one of the fights in the Throne of Thunder raid and was definitely the second hardest fight in that raid instance, right behind Lei Shin, the Thunderlord, the final boss.
Here's how you can tell that this boss was really hard. This boss had no achievement. There wasn't any sort of gimmick that you had to do for this boss, because the boss was so fucked up and so fucking annoying on its own that it was the only boss in all of Throne of Thunder that had no gimmick achievement. Because the boss itself was a fucking gimmick, number 1. And number 2, fuck this boss. Number 3, I hate this boss. Number 4, oh my god, I'm just thinking about it. Oh my god, it was so bad. It was so bad. It was so fucking bad. Like, you had to have... I'll let him explain it. And if he doesn't explain it, I will.
And Dark Animus had an impressive wipe count for its world first attempt.
Yeah, it was insane.
Clocking in at 333 wipes before the first kill was achieved, which is only slightly less than the world first of Mythic Jaina from Battle of Dazar lore. It was downed after 343 attempts.
God damn.
So what was so difficult about Dark Animus? Well,
Keeping
the
all the
fight
ads in
itself
place.
was basically math the fight.
Yeah.
The way the encounter would work was the boss himself, Dark Animus, would basically wipe the group if his energy bar got to 100.
Yep.
Which is known as anima. He
Oh,
would
just
start
like
the
in
fight with
Shadowlands.
0 anima, and in heroic difficulty, he would start draining anima from all the robots in the room after 2 minutes had passed. And since there were about 25 robots in the room, it would completely fill its energy reserves after 4 casts of the ability, which it would use every 5 seconds or so after it's...
And so you would keep the boss, you'd keep some of the golems alive because you couldn't afford to kill the golems, because whenever the golem died, it would put the anima into Dark Animus. So also on top of that, these little anima golems, if they get next to each other, they enrage. So if you had 2 of these fuckers next to each other, they just go and you just die. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, so if one person did it wrong, everybody else would just die. It was the worst. Did they hit hard? They hit very hard, and if you had 2 of them grouped up, only a tank could tank 2 of them, and 3 of them was impossible. It would just one-shot you.
started using it. And the way you managed this mechanic so that you wouldn't die after 20 seconds was in the fact that Dark Anima would only absorb 1 anima per robot that it absorbed from.
Yep.
So if you simply move the anima from the smaller robots to the bigger ones, you wouldn't be able to absorb as much anima as quickly.
You kill the small
and
ones
the
next to the
massive
big ones.
anima golems in the room could hold about 36 anima each.
Yep.
And each of the small robots had 4 anima.
Keep
and the
track.
way you transfer the anima was to simply kill the robots next to the bigger ones.
Exactly.
And that was basically the whole fight. Just moving all of the smaller robots next to the bigger robots so that you can move their energy into
The meta was one big
that
one
way,
alive
once
and then
Dark
the boss.
Anima started absorbing everyone's energy, it would have less
I
robots
think.
to do it from, giving you more time to kill the boss before he reached 100 energy and wiped the group.
Yep.
Now, here's where the massive amounts of wipes came in.
Look at the skeletons, by the way. Look at the skeletons that are all around these guys. This is back in the day, like where, like, so I remember this in Mogushin Vaults. We tried to do stone, the first boss, the stone guards or whatever, and our tanks were terrible. Obviously, tanks are terrible, and we had so many skeletons that everybody's frame rate would go down by about 20, about 2 hours into the raid, because there are so many skeletons and we had died so many times.
The little robots would gain a super buff if they were standing next to any other robot, which would basically increase their damage by about 3 times and allow them to one-shot whoever they hit.
It was insane.
And since there were so many little robots in the room, you basically had to have everyone in the raid pick up 1 robot to take care of and just hold on to it until it was safe to kill it next to another one of the bigger robots.
So you had every single person in the raid was tanking one. So you had like some fucking, if you have a dipshit resto shaman, that dumbass had to get aggro on an anima golem. And guess what happens? Usually they'd mess it up. Like, and so then they're about, oh, I want the aggro, and you see him.
All right, I'm gonna end the stream.
Goes near the other ad, they fucking get that electric
Toodles.
buff, and they're like, "Poof," and they just go right across the map and kill whoever.
Time loss is already located in Earth range, Storm Peaks. This hairy share spawn with Viragoza. Respawn time is around 3 to Okay, let me show the all location. Here, Storm Peaks. After kill the ready, you can get this munch. $99. So video and subscribe.